while they can with the kids not in school for the extra month.
Absolutely. I understand. Glad you guys are good.
So let me just ask right now for, again, it's about 6:59. Right now, the only commissioners that I can spot are myself, Sharon Fox, and Mark Mulvaney. I am not seeing Bob Hutteman. I am not seeing Michael Neustadt. I am not seeing.
John Donovan's just about to enter.
And
Okay.
John Donovan is, okay, so we have a quorum. So we still have a mystery person that for right, an individual, area code 203.723. We're not sure who you are.
Oh, that's me.
Who is you?
Diane Sivo.
Oh, okay, great.
Oh,
Hello.
All right. We weren't trying to make it hard on you. Sometimes I said, well, some of the commissioners call in and we weren't sure. We didn't want to miss anybody. So we weren't trying to make it hard.
No, the number just didn't register in my head until you said it again.
Okie dokie.
Easy
I
to
have
do.
not done this before because I don't have any visual. Am I supposed to have a visual on my phone?
no.
Only if you log in that way.
Okay.
Oh, and
Am
Michael
I-
Neustadt's joining.
Can you see me?
I just did the login that's on the agenda.
Yeah. John, I cannot see you, but we can hear you and see that you're on.
Why can't you see me? I don't know.
Your camera is probably off.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. I think I have to go to some other thing here.
Yeah, if you go down to the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, oops, hold on, I just lost it.
All right, if everyone can just be patient while one of the commissioners finishes with the technology department. So,
Sorry, but I think I'm on now.
Hello, Michael.
Hi, I couldn't get on my regular computer, so I've got a little laptop out. Here I be.
Hello, can you hear me?
what if we said no, Dave?
Nice to, oh, it's nice to, someday I hope we meet again at town hall. This is, this Zoom stuff is really getting old. So nice to see everybody tonight.
Can you hear me anyhow?
Yep, we can hear you,
I
John.
can hear you, John.
I'm trying to figure out how to get the picture on here.
All right, well, I think we might start to get going. We can definitely hear you, John.
All right, that won't scare anybody that way. Okay. that's
Okay,
good.
well, I said, we'll just try and be, like I said, we appreciate everyone's patience. Again, while we start to get this going. So I said, I'm going to start the meeting. Alice, you guys, I see the record button is on.
We are streaming and recording.
Okie dokie. All right, it is Monday, July 27th, 2020. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Brookfield Inland Wetlands Commission. My name is Sharon Fox. I act as the chair of the commission. With us tonight, also on the commission, Mr. Mark Mulvaney, who is our vice chairman, Mr. Michael Neustadt, who is a regular member, Dr. John Donovan, who is a regular member, and Mr. Dave Frankel, who's on the phone, who is an alternate. So all 5 of us will be voting members this evening. Also with us related to the commission is Alice Dew, who is the Wetlands Enforcement Officer, and Allison Kennedy, who is our recording secretary. So I think we're good here. We're going to start then with Wetlands Enforcement.
All right, 148 North Lakeshore, we have heard from the attorney that Mr. Pastor's appeal was denied and he'll be served with a notice to quit on August 24th if there's no state COVID extensions.
Oh,
So
Lord.
that's beginning to move along.
What property? What was the address of that?
148 North Lakeshore?
Right. Thank you.
Sure, sure.
It's been off
58
for
Old
2 years, hasn't it? 2 years, at least.
It all started in 2015.
Wow. Okay.
So the next one is 58 Old Graves Bridge Road. I'm hearing feedback, but anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, whoever star 723 is, your phone is not muted, and it's. Thank you.
Thank you.
And somebody else is not muted, but anyway. 58 Old Graves Bridge Road, Ari did email me back and he said work has not commenced yet and they're still working with EPA to have the soil taken to Massachusetts rather than Alabama. So he'll keep me up to date on that one. 83 Candlewood Lake Road, there's been no update as most court cases have been delayed. And then the last one that didn't have a file number was 60 Obtuse Road South. That was some work that was being done on a piece of farmland. And I did go over and speak with one of the property owners. Well, first I spoke with a backhoe operator and I gave him the letter saying what was needed to get a permit and what is permitted and what is not. I did not see any violations while I was out there. And then I received a call from one of the owners, James Modulewski, and he verified that they were just grading and bringing down existing manure piles in order to bring in new cattle. So at least he knows now what he does need a permit for. So going forward, we'll hope he gets it.
So when there's also the matter of what was the property on North Mountain Road?
The development.
The development on North Mountain Road, there was the storm debris that had accumulated in the.
Yeah, actually, we'll be discussing that with Diane when she does the 4 Hollow Road application.
Okay.
4 Hollow Drive.
Okay, great. All right. All right. Anybody else notice anything? Anything you want to bring up to Alice's attention?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Nope.
All right. Well, I said we're going to do our old business and the new business, and then we'll come back to the public hearing. So the first thing we have, old business, is 19 Bonnie Road. That's the above ground pool. I don't remember getting notice that they had staked that.
We did get notice of that, yes.
Did we? Okay, and I missed it. So I did not, missing that, I didn't get a chance to get out. Did anybody get a chance to get out there?
I did not. We didn't get the notice till
did.
Friday, by the way.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I didn't get out there this weekend.
Oh, I got a
Yeah,
little behind on Friday. I was on vacation, so I was away for the whole day. So maybe that's why I missed it.
I did get out there, Sharon.
Okay.
And it's a relatively flat piece of property, which then slopes down towards the wetland area that appears on the map. But where they're going to be doing it, they're just going to be doing some grading and putting down some stone. And with a silt fence up, I don't see any problem at all. As far as that's concerned.
Okay, well, that's good to know. The map was missing some measurements, right?
Yeah, Stephen's here for the owner, and he can speak to that.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
they did submit a map with the silt fence shown on it now too.
Right. Oh, I don't see that on my agenda. So that's why
It came Friday, the 24th.
I got to remember not to go on vacation. Friday morning.
8:55.
I think at the end of late July, it's okay too, Sharon.
Okay. All right. Well, I
At
said,
8:55 Friday morning, if you're looking at your emails.
okay, I'll look. I said I missed a couple of those. So Alice, you mentioned that. I'm sorry, Steve.
Yep.
It's Steve Bologna, right?
Yes.
Okay. Anything you want to add to this? Oh, your name and good. Just get your name and address. Just help us out here. I know I can see you, but
The address is 19 Bonnie Road. My name's Steve
Okay.
Bologna. The customer's name's Gary Morrow.
okay. So does anybody have handy the updated plan with the measurements?
I'm looking on it. I do not see the measurements from I think we were looking for wetland to the proposed above ground pool.
Correct.
Or the tree line to the above ground pool. So I don't see those measurements on this sketch.
Well, that was in the original. Maybe it's not to the wetlands then. Maybe those measurements were to the building department, but I did send a drawing with all those measurements over. I could probably find it and email it to you guys again.
Yeah, can you? I mean, that's, I think we were talked about either wetlands, or I think we were looking at from the tree line to the the fence / pool.
Yeah, the tree line is around 20 feet. To the actual creek, it's, 100 plus, but I think the wetlands, it's supposed to be 200 feet away from that, right?
Well, that's the upland review area. There's certainly development that has occurred, and a lot of it, frankly, has occurred in the upland review area. It's important for us to understand the plan that you're asking us to approve. Thank you for that, Allison. Has the measurements from, again, the pool to, I said, I understand there's a tree line.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. Well, if you have it, I said, why don't you submit it? I mean, we need to understand that. At least I would like to understand that and see it documented before I would make a decision.
All right, that's not a
I'll
problem.
open it to my colleagues here.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to look at that a little better. Again, that's part of the difficulty of these Zoom meetings, but we got to get it right. We have one chance to get it right.
All right, I'll send that over for Monday.
Okay.
Or tomorrow.
All right, good. I said, we're here. That's our next meeting. Our next meeting is
Next regular meeting is August the 10th.
right? Yeah, August the 10th. Well, that's good. Now that it's staked, and now that I know it's staked, they also give me a chance to get out there. So, all right, I can't think of anything else to ask Mr. Bologna. Does anyone else have anything for him?
Don't.
Could
No,
you
I'm
also,
good.
you're going to put the distance. I do have one thing I'm thinking of. Just do we have the dimensions of the pool?
It's a 15 by 30 oval and then with a 12 by 20 deck on it.
Are those, can you just add those to the plan as well? So we'll see the distance and just the general dimensions.
All right, sounds good.
All right. And you confirmed, I think the last time, you don't have to take any trees down for this install. Is that right?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'll take a motion to continue 19 Bonnie Road.
I'll make a
Yep.
motion. We continue number 5A, 19 Bonnie Road, number W20-29 to our next regular scheduled meeting.
Okay, great.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dave. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimous, 5-0. Okay, next we have new business. I've got 854, 874 Federal Road, request for a permit extension. I think this is a project that we approved way back in 2015.
Yeah,
Yep,
I think we modified it in 17 probably.
probably. Sounds familiar. Sometimes what I think about is that I'm aware of this property, has anything changed in that area that might warrant some additional consideration? I mean, the only thing that's changed is the sidewalks are bigger on the Federal Road side. Can you, Alex, can you guys think of anything?
Anthony Lucero for the record.
Yeah, have Mr. Lucero.
There has been no work or changes in the immediate area or on any of the adjoining properties, including sidewalks. We do not have any sidewalks north of the four corners at this time.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. It doesn't go that far up, right? Yeah, so
I'll confirm
thank you
that.
for
I
that.
see.
Yeah, and I concur with that as well.
okay.
I don't know if you can hear a lot of background noise, but I'm going to mute myself until called upon.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, the sidewalks don't go that far up, so thank you for that. But again, in general, that's there's anybody else know of anything that has changed around there?
I've driven by there and there's nothing of significance that's changed that I can certainly see. I haven't been up into the property, but I can't imagine anything up there has changed.
Yeah,
Up the
I don't
hill
think.
from the road.
Yeah, this doesn't need the 2 weeks notice. I can't think of any reason that we wouldn't grant this extension.
I agree.
Yep. Dave, Michael,
Anyone
John.
else have anything? I'll make a motion.
No, I'm okay with an
Okay.
extension.
I'm
That's
Right.
fine.
Somebody want to make that
Right.
motion?
I'll make a motion to grant the extension for item 6A, 854 to 874 Federal Road, files 2015-00615 and C27-65.
I'll second.
You don't have to add all the usual stipulations because those were already tagged on the original approval, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Grant the
we're
extension.
just extending it. That's
Yep.
it.
All right.
Yep,
So
I'm
Dave,
good with it.
all right, Dave seconded it.
Yep.
Okey doke. Any discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor of the motion to grant the extension? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimous, 5-0. Okay, next we've got 4 Hollow Drive, new
Thank
single-family
you,
residence.
everybody.
All right,
Thanks, Tony.
thanks. Yep.
You're welcome.
All right, we've got 4 Hollow Drive. It's a new single-family residence. We've got an application, we've got a septic system design. I'm going to ask us who's here for that? Someone here for 4 Hollow? You may be on mute. We may have asked you to mute if I just check your phone.
There we go.
So someone here for 4 Hollow?
Hello?
Hello?
Jesus Christ, I was talking to him a few minutes ago.
Yeah,
Hello?
we can hear you.
I can kind of hear something.
Yep.
Could you just
Can
get
you
your
hear me
name and address, please?
Diane Sivo, 13 Abbey Road, Brookfield.
Okay. All right, and you're the phone number 203-723.
Right.
Okay, excellent.
Oh. Yep, that was the one that was muted.
Okay, great. All righty. Well, let's see. We have an application. Let me just hop over here. And then we'll let you, you can tell us what you think we should know about this. So it's a new family residence, 2.45 acres, 0 disturbed wetlands area. Total wetlands is 100 by 60. No water courses, no disturbed upland review. Okay. So what do you want to tell us something about this?
The subdivision was given wetlands approval back in, you don't remember, it was either December of 15 or January of 16.
Uh-huh.
The detention basin that's on this property was part of the drainage for the road. There's a small wetland area to the south of the detention basin, and the house is located to the north of the detention basin. So if you've ever seen it, it's a pretty large detention basin, and it's completely grown in now with all natural wetlands plantings. So there's really no disturbance to that or to the wetland caused by the house construction.
All right.
Well,
So
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, Mark. No, go ahead, Mark.
I'd like to maybe take some exception to it's all grown in with wetlands plantings. I saw a lot of look like log length cut trees, some stumps, a bunch of stuff piled in that detention basin that looked like debris.
Mark,
Not
I
in
was
the-
out there.
It was never in it.
I was out there today with Cynthia Rabinowitz from Northwest Conservation District and Jason Sivo,
Yep.
and we reviewed the basin. What has happened since you were there last was Jason has put up silt fence between the organic debris and the sediment basin. So it's protected in that sense. Plus, it's been sitting there for quite a while. And we went over the condition of the current sediment basin. Cynthia felt that with the plants that were currently growing in there, which are primarily cattails and some other native species, and you could hear a lot of wildlife and see a lot of wildlife in there. Things like bullfrogs and dragonflies and, you know, other insects flying around. Cynthia felt that since that was very well established, it would be best to leave that as is and do the plantings as per the existing plan around the perimeter of the basin to stabilize that a little bit more. As far as the outlet going towards the wetlands, she felt that that was at a good height. And we talked with Jason about how best to maintain that. There's a, you know, a small amount of maintenance that needs to be done. So keeping the road, the current gravel, not even gravel, it's really a mulch road going in towards that outlet structure would be sensible, and do all the plantings around there. So it's not a very well established road, but enough so he can get in there to do some maintenance. She's going to send me a letter. It looks like she didn't get around to it today yet because we're just there this morning, but she'll get something to us stating what I just stated.
A question,
Yeah.
on the diagram, it says temporary sediment basin. Is the concept to fill it in at some point? Is that incorrect?
No, it was left as a possibility. It depended on how much drainage was going to be going through there. And also at the time, Northwest Conservation District was our overseer, a third party, well, our inspector actually for that property. And so that's why I got Cynthia back out there today to look at it and see what its current condition is. And it is still picking up a fair amount of stormwater flow from the road and from some of the yards. So she felt with that, especially with the cattails, which are great at removing toxins, that would be a good plant to maintain to help take out some of the toxins that are coming from driveways and lawns, things like that.
This is a picture that I took of it. You can see on this side is the water, which is the south, I don't know, eastern side.
Yeah.
And then it comes up and it's all kind of flat where all this debris is, that to my untrained eye looks like that's supposed to be part of that basin, especially when I look at the topo on it. That water's at 453 here, and this is supposed to be at 454, and there's supposed to be a 455 in the middle. I just don't see that. And then, sorry for the lack of technology here, to continue on the picture, that whole basin has stuff in it. I appreciate that Mr. Saivo put up a silt fence now. Certainly needed. I guess I'm interested to see Ms. Rabinowitz's report, because I'm not sure that that's what I envisioned being stacked in a basin.
That isn't where the wood is not part of the detention basin. That's the yard for the residents.
Well,
that's not part of the detention basin.
It's certainly in the upper end review area of it. Would you agree with that?
Well, I don't know how far you want to review away from a detention basin. I mean, if you went over there, you would see the basin's clearly defined from the yard, not where you see the trees and the brush that you see. Those were all cleared from the property after the macro burst. We lost, I don't know how many, probably more than 100 or 150 trees on the property during the macro burst. Those trees were all cleared after that event, and the tree trunks were left and the brush was piled up for a period of time. But that is not, none of it was ever in the detention basin or even close to the detention basin.
Alice or Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong. We're looking at our screen right now, and I'm not sure, Ms. Saivo, if you can see the screen. That green area, where it labeled in black temporary sediment basin, that's the temporary sediment basin. The water happens to pond at one end of it, but the entire thing is the sediment basin. Am I correct?
Right, but the material is more up near where you see that number 4.
I clearly see where the number 4 is. I do not see it being that far away. I'll bow to Mr. Rabinowicz's report.
From the detention basin to the northern property line of that lot is over 130 feet.
Yep.
From the edge of the basin,
And
the northern edge to the property line is more than 130 feet.
yeah, yes.
That is not an area that gets wet.
Well, it's part of the upland review area that needs protection. So not all of it is, I agree with that, but you have to consider anything greater than a 5% slope. I think I might see a few things in there that might qualify for that. And you have to be, how far do we have to be from that sediment basin that's now a wetland, created wetland, which was the intent. Now it has cattails, which are great, but we have to be a distance away from that without doing any disturbance. And putting a silt fence in now is great, and I can appreciate that. And maybe if that had, and I know you don't control a macro burst, but that was a couple of years ago.
Well, it was vacant land at the time. We weren't doing anything with it. There was no need to clear the trees.
Is that,
We had
Can I
more of them on the roadway.
can I just ask, maybe Allison, you said you were out there today. What is this pile? Is it the result of a clearing, or is it debris that came moving with some water down to that area and then just stopped? Do you know its origins? Could you tell its origins?
Well, I can't tell specifically where those exact trees came from, but I have to believe, looking around the rest of the site, that probably a large percentage of them were from the macro burst, and they've been sitting there for quite a while. They haven't moved anywhere. They've been there for a couple of years.
That's right.
Okay. I'm personally, at this moment, I didn't get out to see this. So I think, and it's a new application, so I'll get a chance to get out there. And as I said, but if it's just debris, I'm not so sure at this juncture, if it's just left over, it's not harming the wetland. I personally, there's some reasons to leave stuff, on a property.
Well, it's not in a wetland.
No, well, I'm just saying it's in the upland review area. Okay, that area.
Okay.
And I was trying to say,
the way the basin is functioning now is because when the basin was under construction, because the roadway was under construction, we left the outlet higher so that all of the water collected in the basement for a longer period of time, so that any sediment could settle to the bottom, and so that nothing that was road construction was going to go downstream anywhere into the stream.
All right. Well, I'll get a chance.
That's the way the basin, but it wasn't designed to actually hold that, to have a lower outlet so that it would be basically dry most of the time, and it would hold water during a storm.
Okay.
We have no problem leaving it the way it is. If that's the way Cynthia said she liked it now, that's fine too. But it wasn't actually designed by the Wetlands Commission.
Yeah, you might be fading in and out. That's my other question, Allison. When there was a design that the applicant created with probably some initial comments from Cynthia and possibly the commission. I don't quite recall everything that was said back then. But then later on, didn't Cynthia say that there may be an adjustment could be considered? Does this reflect that adjustment, or did you guys talk about that, or am I just misremembering something? Alice,
Sorry about that. She did say she wanted to take a look at it again, and she was very pleased with the way it had developed since she had last been there.
And that's what's in the report that we do expect from her.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a
Okay.
letter, but
Okay, a
describing
letter.
what she saw, yeah.
All right. All right, so we have a new home here. Is there fill going to be necessary, Sivo, into this? Is that,
I don't have the septic plan in front of me. The septic plan may have some fill.
I'm just kind of interested because
But the
around the,
house-
I'm interested, I mean,
house,
around the
no.
house, are those black lines there topo lines or new topo lines? From 480 down
Well,
to,
that's a grading plan.
so there is going to be some, okay.
Well, it's not fill, it's just a grading plan.
So what is it grading? It goes from 480, it goes from 480 down to 470?
Well, sure, the house would be at the higher elevation. Then the yard is graded down around it.
And that's what you're trying to represent? You're grading it from 480 down to 470?
Well, I mean, it's following the natural topography of the lot. So the engineer has to, he's got to put that on there to show you. But that's mostly because the septic system is,
You're breaking up pretty bad.
Yeah, unfortunately.
the septic system, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, the septic system's probably the only area that would have any imported fill.
What's there now? Is it wooded? Or what's left from what, is it wooded or is it grass or what's there now? In the area of the house?
There's grass in between the detention basin and the road. And there's grass along the road. And then, it's not what you call it, like where the house is going to be. It's just, whatever weeds have grown up in there. But the tree line is back behind where the house would be.
Okay. I am,
And then to the north of it, there's an existing house.
can you put some dimensions on this or have your agent put some dimensions on this plan showing the, the distance? There's the distance from that, what it looks like maybe a southwesterly corner of that septic system down to, I see, are those green lines down there topos? Is there, I see a 470 topo, and then are those green lines, those are more topos. Are they what, 2 foot?
Usually they're 10, but
I just see
that
4.
septic is probably 2 on the septic design, yeah.
Well, I'd like to see some distances from that, from this, from this septic, it's a gallery, right? Even though this gallery down to, I'm not sure exactly where this sediment basin, what elevation that sediment basin starts at. Does it start at 470 or I can't quite tell. Does anybody know?
Jason told me that he gave Alice the as-built of the detention basin today.
I don't believe I have it.
The as-built has the as-built has the elevations on it.
Here we go. The finished elevation, at least where the plantings currently are, looks like 458. Yeah, well, this is the finished plan.
Okay.
The
So
landscape plan, but he also provided me with a topo, a map that shows the topography, and it looks like the outside edge of the basin is around 463, 464. It isn't
right.
really labeled, but this is what he gave me today.
Okay. Well, that's one of my asks would be to update if this is the plan that you'd like us to consider for approval. I said adding a distance from that. I'm kind of pointing to it here. From the edge of that septic gallery to elevation 464. I don't see that on this plan. I don't see a distance.
Well, he wouldn't normally include that. I mean, it's a scale plan. You want the distance written on it?
Yep.
That's what you want?
Yep.
Okay. You want it from the set part of the septic that will be closest to the detention basin?
Yeah, I think that looks, it's hard to, I'm trying to get myself kind of oriented. It's sort of like that, does it be the southwest side-ish? That looks sound about right? Yeah, down by where B, the corner of the septic system is by B2.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, that will do. Now
right.
this, you've got one roof drain, or is there two? There's one roof drain for everything?
No, there should be one in the front and one in the back.
Okay, I'm looking at the one in the back.
Yeah.
And then what is that? Does that end in what? In some riprap, or what does that do? Do you know? Is that, it's hard.
It should be, the roof drains should end with a rain garden.
Okay, I don't think this particular plan has a rain garden on it. At least I don't see anything that describes a rain garden. Can you maybe take a look at that for us?
Yep, I can do that. I'm just making notes here what you want on the plan.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that it?
At this moment it is. I said, I hope you appreciate all this stuff. It just takes a lot longer to sort through.
I would also like from that roof drain outlet to the closest point of that detention basin dimensioned as well. Maybe far enough away.
Okay.
I just can't tell when I'm zooming in on these things.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, yeah, go ahead, because then I want to go back to something. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, so I think I'm confused. We approved this subdivision a few years ago. Had 12 or 13 houses, I'm gonna say, something like that, and
12.
it was 12. Thank you. At least my memory's not that bad. But we had gone through with the experts and the stormwater and everything, and I thought we had maxed out what they were allowing on that site at that point. So is this an additional house to the 12 that was already?
Nope, this is this lot was approved as part of the subdivision.
So it's just, so are we just modifying it? Because I'm seeing this as a new.
Well, that's I'm just doing what I was told to do by people in the office to apply.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm confused. Is it, so this is one of the 12. So theoretically, this was already approved. So I'm not sure what I'm looking at then, or why I'm looking at this.
But there's a question of whether the sediment basin is now a wetlands or not, really, is what it comes down to.
So we just got to get a wetlands guy out there to flag it.
Well, I mean, the basin itself would not contain wetland soil because it didn't contain it before there was a basin there. But because it holds water now and it has, native wetland plants, then I don't know what you would consider it, but it's a detention basin. Before it was constructed, it was not a wetland. You have a map from the subdivision that has the wetlands delineated on that property.
Understood, and I see that. Thank you. That's what was, I guess, confusing me on this. Part of what was confusing me. On this. So I can see even the original wetlands boundary is the green boundary that encompasses all of the sediment, not wetlands boundary, the upland review area. Is a blue line. It covers the entire temporary sediment basin, and let's say it goes through 30% of the house, right through the number 4 of the 4-bedroom. That's what we're looking at as upland review area then, correct? Am I looking at the wrong line?
think so. I think that's the right line, but
There's only one blue line that runs through the house.
yeah.
I don't know anything about a blue line.
And you're not able to view our screen right now because you're on the phone, right?
Yeah, I did the Zoom instructions and I didn't get any picture at all. And
Oh, believe me, I'm not blaming you. I'm looking at a
this was my first
CCA,
attempt.
looking at a CCA drawing dated 3/19/20, titled Septic System Designed for Jason Sidlow, lot number 2. That's the one I'm looking at. I mean, I see the wetland and I see that boundary. It's just not labeled, but I assume that, I mean, looks pretty clear that that's what that is, but we already, and so I'd be interested in seeing the original approval. Nothing has changed in the house or that roof drain. We were allowing a half a house and a roof drain into the upland review area. A third of the house, I'll call it. I don't want to call it a half.
Well, actually, the house that when you go through the subdivision, obviously you don't have an exact house plan. You have to show proposed house location, septic location, driveway, etc. The house that was actually shown on the approved subdivision plan, the approved Wetlands Commission subdivision plan, was a larger footprint than the house that we're showing now. This house is smaller and covers less of an area than the one that was shown on the plan that you approved.
But was it basically in the same place?
Basically in the same place, yes. Yeah, the location has not changed.
Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong.
Any
or
degree from.
Anyone on the commission, correct me if I'm wrong. When we approve a plan, that's what we expect is the house that's going in. Am I in the location and shape
Well,
and
it's not an
size?
actual.
Well, they can change
It's
it.
not an actual house.
It's just a
that's
modification.
shown.
They have to come to us with a modification.
Yeah, I mean, they have the opportunity to change it, what was ever approved. If they want to change, if they want to make a change, then they would make a modification.
But it
That's
still
what-
has to come to us.
The engineer just puts a typical house footprint on the property. They don't have an actual house plan when you're doing a subdivision plan from the beginning. That's just standard procedure. They just do, I mean, they don't know what kind of a house someone wants to build on that lot, so they do a generic type of house footprint.
Well, I will inform you that our regulations then require whoever's actually doing the building, if there's any change from what's on the drawing, whether that's standard procedure or not, the standard procedure would you'd have to come to us for a modification of an existing permit. Not a big deal, but it has to happen. That's what we're doing.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Well, that's not, you just said you were doing it to look because of the detention basin, whether it was a wetland or not. Now, you just.
No, I didn't say it. The only reason I'm doing it is because I couldn't get a building permit without doing this. I'm not doing it for any reason other than that. So whatever it is you want me to call it, that's what I'll call it.
Because it's in here as a new
New single family.
with a
That
new
was what your
number.
office told me to do.
All right, well, let's do this. I mean, we are not able to make a decision, tonight, because it is new business. What I can ask Mark is, and I'll take it on myself. I'll do the research. I will ask, Diane to pull the original plan that was approved for this particular lot. And I'll do a little compare and contrast on what was there versus what's here.
Yeah, and
That's fine.
I'd like to see Cynthia's letter, so that'll be nice.
And we'll see Cynthia's letter, exactly. And I'll have a chance to get out here and take a look at this pile of stuff, that is over by number 4.
Mm-hmm.
And can someone just refresh my memory? What's the plan for number 4? Is it going to just, is the proposal just to leave it there?
Leave what there?
The
trees?
brush, that's the brush or wood or whatever it is. By 4,
No,
is that
we've been
your
re-
proposal
we've-
just to leave it, or?
Well, no, that's going to be a house site just like all the other houses that are in the subdivision, with the house and a lawn. And so, it's not going to have brush or trees or anything left. It's as soon as we get a building permit, then
You take that
everything,
out.
all the brush will be taken away.
Okay. All right. Well, I definitely can do that. Just, I'm also going to I'm also very interested. I said, now that we have we have a wetlands area in this detention basin, something at, elevation 464 down to 452, 53, whatever it is. I'm going to be interested. I have one more ask in, this whole lawn area. I'd like to have a better understanding of where you guys are proposing the lawn and what the permanent line of what a line of disturbance might be, because I'm kind of interested in not having that yard come all the way to that detention basin without any opportunity for some kind of a swale or something that will slow down any of the lawn care products that the property owner would put on their yard. I mean, the way it's set up right now, everything will just slide right into that detention basin. And I'm interested in seeing a proposal or an idea that would change that, whether that's adding a swale between that grade and this new detention basin. There may be some opportunities for some plantings that will slow, like I said, the opportunity for, lawn care products, which are whatever they put down. Those can include insecticides, those can include nitrates and phosphorus and a lot of things that we would like not to get into that area. So that would be my third ask.
Well, I have to talk to the homeowner about
Sure.
it.
Sure. I understand.
I mean, I think his intention is to have, trees planted, because it's, the detention, he has little kids. So, I'm sure he's going to want to have a barrier between his yard and the detention basin anyway.
Okay. Well, let's understand what that is. Let's understand what the property owner, who the potential, whatever it is, do that. And again, also take a look at what can be done to keep lawn care products from just, like I said, just sheet flow right into that detention basin.
Mm-hmm. You do have a planting plan on file there also.
Yeah, but planting plants are very important and they're helpful, but they're not a physical, I'm interested, like I said, some kind of a swale that will divert that water maybe around that and give it a chance for some of those lawn care products to drop and not get into that basin.
Okay.
Okay. Dave, Michael, Mark, John, anything you guys?
I'm okay with everything.
All right.
I'm just looking at it. Is there an opportunity to shift everything to the east and not have any of the house in the upland review area now?
However,
Potential.
at this point, the upland review area has changed dramatically because of the sediment basin.
Or that, yeah.
So maybe what we need to see is a revised drawing showing the upland review area taking into account the sediment basin.
That's a thoughtful idea. Okay.
All right.
Well, you've heard a number of comments from from Mark, from Michael, from myself, and I just ask you to take them all into consideration. Like I said, I'll get a chance to get out there. I'll do that little homework for the commission, and I'll take a motion to continue this to our next meeting.
I'll make a motion. We continue 4 Hollow Drive, number W20-31, to our next regular scheduled meeting.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. I think that takes care of all the old business and new business that I see. All right, so let's hop back to the public hearing for 100 Candlewood Lake Road, the new school project. I was looking, I don't see, Alice, do you know where Steve or Eric or Jim, I don't see them? Am I not, or am I missing them?
Can anyone hear me?
Steve did not come because he has been going over everything with the engineers of the school, and they agreed upon, a tactic to do everything that Steve has been asking them to do. So they're going to go back and add those changes to their plan. So there will be a new set submitted. Also, they have given us an extension letter to the next meeting, but Jeff is here and Matt is as well, and Eddie and several other people.
And I see Jim, and there's Eric. There you are. Sorry, I didn't see you. This should be in alphabetical order here.
Yeah, my internet dropped out, but I'm back here.
Okay. So again, someone just muted their line, so thank you for that. We were hearing some feedback there. So again, if we hear any noise, if you're not speaking, you can just mute your line. All right, well, we have lots and lots and lots and lots of new information here. I have some ideas. I said for the applicant, let me just let you guys, again, so let me just for the members of the public, I said this is a continuation of the public hearing. We're going to have some information. I think the applicant's got some things they would like to share with us. I'm sure their colleagues or my fellow commissioners will have some questions and some comments for the applicant and or two of our consultants who are on the line. When we get through that process, again, as we always do in the public hearings, if you're on the public, we're going to give you the opportunity to ask questions. I will make that a point. I'll ask if anyone there has a technical question or a question about what you've heard tonight, something that is specifically related to wetlands that you might have for us, maybe about the process, or for the applicant to answer. I'm going to give you the opportunity to do so. Again, everybody, if you've got a question, we will get to you. And then after that, we will, as we always do, we'll give everyone the chance if they want to speak in favor of the application or against the application. So for the members of the public, those will be your, those will be your opportunities, questions, and the opportunity to speak. So again, everyone, it is a little trickier now because we're on, Zoom, but we will find you. We'll look for raised hands. We'll listen for noises. There's a chat someplace, and we'll definitely go looking for that so that we catch everybody. All right, so let's turn it over to, like I said, I'm not sure, you got Matt and
Yes.
So Matt and Jeff, you guys want to just, if you speak the things you want to share with us, just be sure to, your name and address, please.
Yeah, so I'll begin. It's Matt Sanford, professional wetland scientist with my law in McBrome. Darren Overton is not available this evening. And as Alice talked about at the very beginning of the opening of the public hearing, Darren and his engineering team are working with Steve to address the comments. And so those comments will be addressed prior to the next public hearing. Tonight, what I'd like to do is to go through comments that were raised by both the town's third-party consultants as well as some of the commissioners as it relates to the wetlands. So I will speak to two of the issues, and then I will turn it over to Ed and Jeff to tackle the educational component. So the first item that I'd like to talk about is that we've provided to the commission a letter dated July 22nd, 2020 that identifies comments that were raised at the last public hearing by both, again, consultants, your consultants, as well as some of the commissioners. So the first one I'd like to address is Mr. Cowan had raised comments regarding the invasive species management plan for the site. And so between the last public hearing and today's, we have gone ahead and developed a site-specific invasive species management plan. I will share my screen here. Let's see. Oh, Alice, can you allow me to?
Allison has to do that, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll do that right now.
Okay.
Oh, still saying it's,
There you go. You should be co-host
okay.
now.
Yep. Let's see here. Share. Okay, so can everybody see the plan that's in front?
Yep.
All right, so this is the revised landscaping plan. It's C1.30. And on the landscaping plan, what we have done is added up in the upper, I'll zoom in a little bit here, in the upper left-hand corner of the notes, we've provided invasive species management notes. So these are site-specific. The first note requires that a qualified biologist with the knowledge of invasive species management be retained for the invasive species management implementation. We've divided the notes into treatment of woody invasive plants, and those could be multiflora rose, they could be autumn olive, and so they have a site-specific invasive species management plan for those species. We then have a plan for woody vines, whether it be bittersweet and others, as well as herbaceous plants. And herbaceous plants on this particular site, we've identified two that are of concern. One of them identified by Jim was the Canada thistle, and then one that also is on the site is purple loosestrife in places. And so we've developed a specific plan to manage those species. And again, everything is spelled out on the plan here. We've also, as part of the plan, have a condition that the site will be monitored post-restoration for 3 years, and a report by a qualified individual biologist will be supplied to the commission detailing the success, the failure, or remedial activities that need to take place to make that mitigation and invasive species management plan successful. So the other thing I think it's important to note is that Mr. Cowan also wanted to extend some of the invasive species management to the hairy fruited sedge location, which is right in this area here. I've made some special provisions or notes on that, is that we don't want any herbicides in that area being applied. So that is a herbicide-free zone. There is some multiflora rose that is present in that area, and we have called for the actual hand or shovel removal of that multiflora rose in that area. Because again, we don't want to introduce a herbicide that could potentially harm or damage that existing colony of hairy fruited sedge. So that is the invasive species management plan that's been added to the plan. Second topic that was raised by a couple of the commissioners was the water volume increase, specifically down at this location here, so towards the southern wetland number 6, this location here, as well as probably at the property line, were the two areas. So what I did is I had our engineers take a look at what I call drain times in a given wetland, because it's important to understand, although we may be adding water volume to a wetland, what is that volume or impact to the vegetation or the wetland system based on how long that water is going to be there from pre-development to post-development. So those are the two numbers that we start to look at, and I call drain time. Okay, and the way we look at that is we actually generate hydrographs that are part of the package that we submitted. Let me see if I can scroll down to those so you can see what a hydrograph looks like. So these are the hydrographs that are generated through our modeling, and they give us an idea based on the rating curve that you see there. The red curve gives us an idea of what the drain time is. So with the peak rate of runoff, the peak rate of peak volume is at a certain number of hours, and then how long does it take for that wetland to drain? Okay, and that's what you're seeing here in these graphics. And if you've reviewed the letter, you'll see that there's several different graphs that we provided.
So what would just so I understand, Matt, so that graph is specific for 6 or the property?
So all right, so let me go back here and show you what these tables or graphs are showing. So we have an existing conditions. So we're looking at two things. We're obviously looking at pre-development, existing conditions, right, and then we're looking at post-development. So after the school would be in place. And so we had two analysis points on our existing watershed analysis. Analysis point watershed 11 was right about at this location where the pipe comes out of the underneath the parking lot, was our first watershed point under existing conditions. And our second one is actually at the southern property line in wetland 6. So both of them were in wetland 6. So there was 2 analysis points under existing conditions that we looked at. And that's all part of the stormwater report that the commission has. So then what we want to look at under proposed is, okay, how does the watershed change? And we want to look at the similar location of where those analysis points were. So under our proposed stormwater reporting and modeling, we have 2 very similar points, one located right here, right at the existing watershed 11 analysis point, and we have a second one located at the existing watershed under the existing conditions right at the southern property line as well. So those are our 2 analysis points. And that if you when you have a chance to look at the tables, each one's labeled as to what they are in the graphs. Okay. So anyway, with all that being said, I think the most important thing is to take a look at the drain times. Okay. So I'm gonna take you over to the table now that shows the drain times, and we looked at the 2 through 100-year storms. So here's your existing watershed 11. So this is right where the new school is kind of close to the wetland 6. Under existing conditions, the existing wetland takes about 12.3 hours to drain. So the volume of water that gets there under existing conditions takes 12.3 hours to drain from that wetland and get back to normal conditions. Under proposed conditions at that same location with now the school in place, you're looking at an increase of about 2.4 hours, so 14.7 hours for that wetland to drain. So yes, we have an increase in volume of water at that point, but we only have an increase of about 2.4 hours of actual retention time in that wetland, and then it drains right back to existing conditions.
Hey, Matt, just help me with that chart again. So this row XWS11, that's the
existing conditions at that point, right at where the school, right where that culvert comes out of underneath the parking lot under existing conditions. And that's right about where the new school is going to be closest to wetland 6.
Okay, so the top 2 rows then are pre and the bottom 2 rows are post?
No. So existing watershed. So existing watershed is that point, is the watershed 11, which is the point on the plan. Let me go right to the plan. I'll show you. So the first 2 rows.
Can you stay on that drawing for me?
The drawing or the table?
Or go back to it, I guess. Finish your thing and then go back to that.
Okay. So let me go to the drawing just so everybody's clear as to what the analysis points are. Okay, so the first 2 rows are both existing and proposed conditions. And that analysis point is right here.
Yep.
Okay. The second row in that table, and we'll go back to that table in a minute, is for the analysis point here. And that those next 2 rows have an existing conditions and a post development conditions. Okay. So those are the 2 areas. Is that clear?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the 2 areas that we want data on are clear. Yep. I was just trying to understand which was which in your chart.
Yep. Okay. So here I'll circle these 2 here are that analysis point right at wetland 6 where the pipe comes out and discharges into wetland 6. Okay. So those 2 this is existing, the first line, and this is proposed, the second line. That's why you see an increase from 12.3 to 14.7. So existing, proposed for that analysis point 1.
So is there a methodology? Do you have a methodology type that you used for this calculation? Aren't there different methodologies that you can use to get these numbers?
Well, the common methodology is through the TR20 model. That's industry standard. So that's the modeling that's used to predict both peak rate of runoff, so your cubic feet per second at a particular spot, your volume of water, and then your drain time through the hydrographs that are generated in the computer modeling.
And your opinion for this type of property and that kind of topology, that's the appropriate model?
Yeah, it's really the only model that we can really use to predict these particular events in terms of drain times and how they would impact a wetland or water course. So, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do have one question. Not an expert on this, but it seems to me that the drain time would be very dependent on the type of soil at that spot. Is that taken into consideration?
No, so the drain time really isn't dependent because again, you're thinking of a storm event, right? So it's been raining already for a period of time. This is a 2-year storm. So a 2-year storm, you're looking at 3.2 inches in a 24-hour period. So the soils have probably already been saturated through the first 1 inch of rain, first 2 inches of rain. So you're in a condition the soils are already saturated. So now you're looking at, okay, what is the volume of water going to be in this saturated condition for the 2 through 100? So you're really looking at already saturated soil conditions because this is already at 2 years. This is at 3.2 inches in time. So the soils, for that matter, for purposes of evaluating volume impacts, is not relevant at this point because we're assuming that the soils are already fully saturated. Obviously, if they were drier, they can actually hold more water. So again, what we're looking at is we want to understand when we add this volume of water, what is it going to do to the vegetation in the wetland community that's there? That is what we're looking for. Because as we know, if we change the hydrology, if we add more water for a long period of time, and I'm talking weeks, months, we can change the vegetation in the community that's there. We could have adverse impacts to that vegetation. So what this is showing us is that we have a very short change in drain time. And that's really critical because that means that we're not going to have adverse impacts to that vegetation that's there currently because we're only increasing it by 2.5 hours in either graph or either box that you look at is that we're only increasing by 2.5. That's a very small amount.
Well, like 18%. I'm not sure that I'd call that small.
It is certainly small when we are looking at vegetation and the hydrology of a wetland. There's no question this is minimal from a adverse impact standpoint. There will be no change to the wetland vegetation based on a 2.5.
I'll have to hear another. No offense to you, I'm going to have to hear another opinion on that.
Yep.
But I'm looking at your chart, and your chart seems to tell us that there is no more duration of rain in a 2-year storm versus a 100-year storm.
I had that same question.
I'm sure you did, Michael.
Yeah, I'm
sure everyone did.
Thank you.
I'm just going to ask it.
No, it's
Right?
no.
2 inches of rain in a 2-year storm. How much rain do you get in a 100-year storm here?
So let's take a look at the tables because I'm not the graphs because I'm not sure if you're looking at them correctly. So if you look at the y-axis, we have our Q, right? Our CFS. So if you go to each the 2-year, 10-year, 25, you're going to see that increase as you go to each one. You can see under existing conditions for existing watershed 11 2-year, you're at about 66 CFS. Okay. Under proposed conditions 2-year, you're at almost 78 CFS. So that's 2-year. Then if we move to increase, yep. If we move to 10-year, if we look at the 10-year,
this looks like the 100-year.
100-year. If we look at the 100-year, obviously we have 120 CFS.
That would be after construction. You're showing us now.
No, this would be existing, and then proposed would be PRA, and we show 100 and 140. So we can see an increase in CFS. So the tables are showing the two.
Go back to your first chart.
Sure.
That is telling me that in existing conditions, I have 12.3 hours, whether it's a 2-year, 10-year, 25, 50, or 100. And you just told me that 14.8 was on existing. And I said it's not, and you said it was.
No,
That's
no,
existing.
no. Again, for what the tables are showing and what the graphs are showing is presented in this table. It is 12.5 for the southernmost point in wetland 6, and it's 14.8 for proposed conditions, whether it's a 2-year, 10-year, 25, 50, or 100-year storm.
How does that make sense? How many inches of rain do you get in a 100-year storm?
100-year storm is somewhere around 7.8 inches, I believe it is.
And that takes just as long to get rid of as 3.2 inches.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. We don't have any restrictions, right? We don't have an outlet control structure that or dam or an orifice. It just as
you
it
got
does
a pipe
today.
existing. There's certainly a pipe.
Well, there's not, but
that pipe's not full?
well, we're talking downstream of the pipe though. We're not talking upstream of the pipe. We're talking downstream of the pipe.
You're talking about
Well,
getting
there
rid
is-
of the water that's upstream of the pipe, or is that not what you're showing us?
No, this is wetland 6. This is downstream of the pipe. So this is the southern wetland, wetland 6. This is what is coming out of the pipe pre-conditions, and this is what's coming out of the daylighted section of channel under post conditions. So we're not looking at upstream. We're looking at wetland 6, because one of the questions that was raised was what are the implications of the increase in volume to wetland 6? And so that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at wetland 6, and
But this is certainly showing us an 18% increase in duration of post-development drain time.
Correct. And what I'm telling you from a wetland scientist perspective is that it takes a considerable amount of inundation over a long period of time to change the characteristics of either the vegetation and or the wetland itself. That's fact. That's scientific fact. So again, this is, you could say it's 18%. The bottom line is what the most important thing is when we look at this,
You're saying
we look
it's
at volume.
18%. I'm just agreeing with you. It's 18%, plus or minus.
Well, so the bottom line is it's the drain time that is the most important part of this when we look at volume and we look at wetlands. That's the bottom line. If you were to ask Eric Davison, who I think is on the line, he'd probably also agree with that as well. So
Help me with probably a silly question to you, but why does it take 12 hours if there's no restriction to the water running off that spot during the storm? Why does it take 12 hours after the peak of the water to drain? Does the water sit there and drain off more slowly? Does it?
Yeah, so what happens under a storm event, if we think about it, any stream has a floodplain, right? Has an associated floodplain with it. So that floodplain fills up and it takes that much time. There's, each stream has a different floodplain for a 2-year, 10-year, 25, 50, 100-year storm. So it varies in terms of how much it holds and how much water surface is present during a particular storm. So basically what it's telling us is that that it takes 12.3 hours based on the channel geometry that's there, based on the topo that's in the floodplain, based on the topo that's in the wetland. It takes that long of a time to drain that wetland under existing conditions. Wetland 6 takes 12.3 hours to drain.
And so during that 12 some hours, the water is continuously running across that wetlands. And by the end of the 12.3 hours, the level has gone down to what it is.
It's receded. Yeah, it's receded, and now the water's back in probably back in the banks of the channel by that point. Yep.
So in a sense, it's flooding for 12 hours. I mean, I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just trying to understand what's going on there.
So yes, for simple terms, it is inundated by a certain level of water for 12.3 hours, and then at the end of that 12.3 hours, it's back confined into the channel, flowing as it would before the storm.
Okay, and one more perhaps silly question, because we're talking about flooding here or water coming up out of the lower part of the channel. Is there any chance that we would affect the building?
No. So for schools, they actually have to be above the 500-year flood. So everything is contained within the channel or within the wetland and not up into the building. That's part of the state code in terms of any new school buildings. They can't be subject to the 100-year flood. So everything is contained below the school in wetland 6 or within the channel. That's the new daylighted channel that's proposed.
That's good, because I don't think the 100-year flood is probably once every 10 years these days.
Right.
Hey, Eric, you're on the phone. Have you get a chance to take a look at these, or are you seeing them for the first time, or where?
Yeah. No, I took a look at what Matt and Malone had drafted. Everything Matt's saying makes sense. I mean, I think, the key here is it's a sloping wetland. So There's not going to be a significant change, obviously, in the depth of flooding. It's just simply a change in the duration. And I probably using a percent increase in a wetland like this doesn't really kind of tell you the picture you're looking at. I think hours of flooding increase is really the right way to express it. And, I think if you had, like Matt described, multiple days or weeks of additional flooding, that's when you start having a change in the vegetative community, or otherwise impacts to wetland dependent wildlife. A few hours for a storm event is not going to have a significant, notable change to the flora or fauna of the wetland. I think the key is you don't have peak flow increase, so you're not looking at an erosional issue. It's just additional, duration of flooding, which a few hours is pretty minor. It takes a lot of engineering to get down to no increase in total volume. We've done it on projects, but it takes a significant amount of engineering and significant amount of space to manage stormwater to the point where you don't have an increase in total volume. There are certain wetland types where you wouldn't want to have an increase in total volume. Wetlands that are where the hydroperiod is critical to the function of the wetland, like a vernal pool. With a wetland like this, it doesn't hold that same, significance.
So just so I can understand the map, I understand, Matt, this is representing those 2 points. What does HYD 2 mean and 15? I think that probably threw me first. If these were the same points,
so
why aren't they numbered the same? Or
well, so what happens is, obviously, when you start an existing conditions model, these HYDs are actually, and if you look at and I believe you all have copies of the stormwater report as part of the record. So if you were to go into the stormwater report, you would see these charts, model charts that show you how the model is set up from the most upstream part of the watershed all the way to the downstream part of the watershed on a particular site. And so what the engineers do, they assign them values. So the upper reach might be HYD 11. The next one might be HD 10, HD 9, et cetera, as it goes down. So those really tie back to the report. And if you look at the report and you look at those numbers, you'll understand how everything ties together. So those are just coding systems for the modeling. And obviously it changes when you change the watersheds, localized watersheds within a given site. Those numbers have to be reconfigured and then renamed for proposed conditions so that folks can follow it, so the engineers can follow it as they move through.
Okay. So you showed me where these 2 points are on the map. What I was very interested in, I said that part of wetland 6, there's a small finger, they said, that runs right up next to what you guys are proposing for the building. And I'm interested in that. Is that data is not in this chart, is that right?
Well, no. So this data represents that wetland. So there is a finger of wetland 6, that comes up right up against the building. Let me see if I can find a little note here. So our analysis point is right here. So this is where the building comes closest to the wetland. I think that's where you had raised concerns with, was this corner and its proximity to this.
Oh, well, the wetland, no, where it actually comes up against the building is to the left of, like, right there, right where your cursor is. That's the part, I said, that's the part of a wetland. I said it is right up against that building. So your data right now is down where on the
data is right here. So
side, right?
Yep.
You
this
don't have any.
So this is being filled. So this part of the wetland is being filled under the proposed conditions.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we're moving. So this right now is where the box culvert comes out from underneath the parking lot. So if you've been out to the site and you're going to walk from the back of the school parking lot to the baseball fields, this is that little driveway that comes across, and this is where the box culvert comes out. So the stream is actually right in here. Under existing conditions, the stream is here. We're taking that stream, we're filling in this part of the stream and wetland, and we're moving the stream over and daylighting it over here. So we took that question that you raised the last time to be this point here, where we're actually close. The building's actually closest to the existing wetland, not the daylighted new channel. But again, from a standpoint, I think the most important thing is to understand what the volume is within wetland 6, and that's what we provided to you. I mean, that is what should be being looked at in terms of the impact to a wetland or water course pre and post development as relates to stormwater runoff.
Well, again, you've just brought some, I did not understand that from all of my, whatever my reviews were. I did not understand that part of wetland 6 that's on your map is to be filled. I understood that the only thing was going to be filled was 4. I did not understand that. So thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, I had heard it as uncovering the stream, so.
Not moving the stream, which is also a surprise to me.
Yeah. Okay. What else do you have for us, Matt?
I think that takes care of the 2 comments that I was going to address this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Ed
Before
and
you go, like I said, this is a chance. Eric or Jim, anything that you've heard Matt say, then in addition to our questions or anything, let me just give you guys an opportunity to ask Matt about anything you've heard. Did you know that, by the way? Did you appreciate that wetland 6 was going to be filled? Was that your understanding, and we just didn't get it?
Yes,
Yes.
that was indicated in
Yep.
the original plans.
All right.
Yes, I understood that as well, that it was going to be relocated in a new channel, that was the purpose of the wetland creation, in part. And I would just also kind of go back to what Matt started with in terms of the invasive management plan. That's in line with what I was looking for. Gives sufficient detail and oversight by a professional to make sure that it's done correctly and that it's monitored, because these things can take time to get the invasives under control. So that satisfies my concern.
What about Matt? I think Matt had talked about he's got a maintenance plan that goes on for 3 years for this particular area. I think of, places like, like the High Line, where you've got, rather comprehensive kind of plantings. I mean, maintaining this stuff is an ongoing, never ending sort of adventure, if you will. What thoughts do you have for whether it's 3 or 5, or should it be longer? I said there's a lot going on here.
3 years, I mean, it's a relatively small area and side slopes. 3 years is sufficient to get it established. It's fairly standard for more complicated, larger wetlands. Sometimes the Army Corps might require 5 years. 3 years is sufficient to get it established. Ongoing management really becomes, at some point, it needs to be handed off to the school landscape division and whoever's responsible for the landscape, and that could be a handoff that's part of the monitoring, that at the end of 3 years or maybe in year 3 that the landscape staff is trained by the wetland scientist to take over the ongoing maintenance, because that is a high visibility area.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there that needs to be maintained and pruned and trimmed and thinned, and the unfortunate birds that drop the invasives back in.
Right, and so typically what we look at in a wetland creation is, what does it take to get something established, to establish the desirable plants and to control the undesirable plants until it's established. And that's the typical standard. And then what happens on an ongoing basis becomes the responsibility of the owner. And so in this case, the school. So, you know, I think you would want to have your landscape staff involved. There could also be an educational component for students that they track invasive plants, that it be an educational component. What are invasive plants? What are they doing to the ecology of this area? And so that could be an ongoing thing. I mean, that could be something that the conservation district might come in once a year and have a workshop or a seminar with students, or you know, some schools have a biology club or an ecology club. And so there are certainly opportunities there, but there needs to be somebody who on a long-term basis is in charge.
Yeah, because it's not a 5-minute adventure every once a year to keep this up.
But on the other hand, you don't want to be having to pay a professional on an ongoing basis to do this.
Right, but
So
well, however it happens,
it's
still, yeah, there's a lot that has to be done on an annual basis. I mean, it's not just you know, 5 or 10 hours of maintenance to keep this going.
Well,
this looks like this is a
well. Typically, what I like to see in our designs is where the plants that are going in are to move the trajectory of a wetland in a particular direction, and it will change over time. There will be native plants in the seed bank. There will be seeds that wash in from upstream. And so it's going to change over time, and wetlands do change over time. You just want to keep it as healthy as you can. And so that's primarily controlling invasives, but it will become shadier over time as shrubs grow in, unless you prune and contain. And so it may be from time to time that the school decides that they want to have a wetland scientist come take a look at it, or someone from the conservation district and get their input, someone like Cynthia, to come take a look and see what, I mean, I know personally, I know she's very interested in education. And so I don't know if that's in her purview now, but
well, I would welcome, yeah, I would welcome either from Jim or Eric and Matt. I would welcome any kind of insight, you know, that we can pass along to the town about, you know, said, you know, the maintenance of this, you know, beyond, you know, your proposed, you know, in your case, Matt, you know, the proposed 3 years. So the town has some, you know, maybe some understanding of, you know, what they're going to have to do to invest to keep this at some level, you know, whether that's, you know, hours per year or a range or something. I would be interested in, like I said, input from all three of you to, like I said, that we can pass along to the town to make sure this thing, you know, continues to do what it wants to do or needs to do 20 years from now, 50 years from now. I'd be very interested in that.
Sharon, can I just add something? It's
Yeah.
Eric Davison. Yeah, I mean, I just an overall comment. I mean, I think the apprehension from the commission from the beginning, I think, has been the fact that, you know, you have this very large site, but there are skirting wetland impacts basically around the entire perimeter of the site, basically hitting all wetlands. And so, but I think the real issue is, you know, Malone McBroom's been tasked with a certain design and constraints that don't allow them to use the eastern side of the site, which would be the obvious answer to avoid the
wetland. Our issue, Eric.
What's that?
That's not our issue.
Yeah, what I'm getting.
Their design is not our wetlands concern. Our wetlands concern is protecting the wetlands.
Yeah, let me just finish my comment. What I'm getting at here is the whole issue of feasible and prudent alternative. I think if the applicant, whether you consider it's Malone or the town, the school board.
It's the town. It's the town.
So the applicant is presenting you with what their design constraints are. they've presented their alternatives, all of which had more impact, not less. They're basically telling you they don't have another, from their perspective, feasible and prudent alternative. I think that's just where you're stuck in terms of other mitigation options. There's really no other way to work any kind of magic on a site like this where you just don't have any space left. So, I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to. What is the strength of the feasible and prudent alternative test in your eyes?
Yeah, Eric, I'd say that if that was the matrix for every applicant, we'd have everyone coming into us saying, I want to develop 100% of my site, so I don't have any alternatives. That's my goal. That's all I can do. Or I don't want to take down a field that is already clearly mown because I want to keep that for my view. So I'm stuck over here building my house in a wetland. That's not our purview. That's our concern. We can't just bow to some people because they say they don't see other prudent alternatives. There very well may be.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is obviously it's a bit more nuanced than that, and the commission can consider other issues other than wetland issues that are, safety, financial, et cetera. You can consider other issues. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying you can. You also can task the school board with coming up with a reduced size building if that's the answer, and see why they can't do that or what the issues that result from that are. But
well, thanks, Eric. Appreciate that. All right. I said those were, I think, just questions, Matt, that were kind of relative to things that you had talked about. So we wanted to take advantage of that. So I think we're ready to move. You have some other things that you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, so what I'd like to do now is there's been some comments raised regarding the educational components. I would like Eddie and Jeff from Tecton to address our response to that comment, and that's comment number 3, and I'll turn it over to them now for their discussion.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, this is Eddie Wadowski from Tecton Architects in Hartford, Connecticut. Matt, actually, if you wouldn't mind going to slide 14.
Slide 14, you got it. Let me see if I can make it a little smaller.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I'm going to try to be brief here. I know we gave a much more in-depth answer in the written documentation, so I'm happy to go into anything if you would like. But just to let you know, the project all along has been envisioned as a marriage between building and site. We've talked very much since early on that strategies that we would employ with the building would extend out into the site and vice versa. The building is intended to be part of the nature and the landscape. So the concept of integrating its design into the educational program of the building has been there from the start. So when that was raised as a question or a comment, we were certainly ready to discuss and address that. Obviously, there's a number of strategies that we've been discussing this evening and in the past weeks in terms of the wetlands, but there's also been elements of the site design, whether they're aesthetic or programmatic in terms of pathways and amenities, and also with the building itself. And what we'd really like to do is we envision the exterior being really a living classroom. We showed a few examples of potential signage that could be incorporated for teachers to use as teaching moments, for outdoor areas to become those classrooms, to be able to use the signage there as touch points, but also for the average person in the public to be able to come and see the strategies. So I'm just going to quickly hit some of those elements. The image you see north is up, so in terms of directions, the west side of the building on the left, it's really intended to be a nature walk. We have a few wetlands to the side of the building. We envision the plantings there, native plantings, to be able to encourage students to walk around and see what's been done in terms of integrating the building in the landscape. We have in between the wings of the classrooms, the first one where that arrow is right now, is a formal amphitheater and courtyard that's used for accommodating 2 to 3 classes at a time, to be able to have classes outside. The other courtyard between the other 2 wings of the building, moving just a little bit south, just below where the hand is on the screen, is a much more organic space. Tree stumps of varying heights and diameters to encourage climbing and exploration. Benches that are composed of basically found driftwood and stones, raised planting beds. We have rainwater harvesting that's being done from some of our roofs, particularly the canopies and pedestrian bridges, coming down chains to rain barrels. So being able to use native vegetation and really talk about how growing can be encouraged, trying to look into some pieces with farm to table where some of the crops that are grown and spices and seasonings could be used in the kitchen. You know, I won't go into the various wetland strategies and the plantings we've already talked about, but of course there is, you know, the opening of the stream channel on the east side of the building and a dry stream, kind of a dry stream channel motif that occurs in the green area connecting the building out to the main play area. Really trying to, again, I keep saying the native plantings, but Brookfield has been tasked with trying to be part of the pollinator highway, and we certainly see the vegetation being used in a way to encourage, you know, pollination with bees, with butterflies, and really to make it a habitat that everyone can enjoy. I think that's, oh, I'm sorry, let me tell you a little bit about, so as I mentioned, some of the strategies with the building itself as well. There's strategies that we've employed from the use of insulated concrete form walls for all of the exterior for the building. It's a thermal mass, a very high R value. We've gone with a very high R value for the roof, for future voltaics, the fenestration of the building, the orientation. These are all pieces that are part of, you know, the ongoing passive solar and thermal design of the building that all can be used as teaching points to be able to show to the students how to actually integrate the building with the environment, and with dashboards electronically planned in the lobby of the space to be able to really see what the actual effects of the design of the building are. So I don't know if I was brief or not, but if you have questions, I'm happy to answer.
And Ed, I would just touch on some of the signage,
Sure.
example signage that will be placed in and around both the mitigation areas, the daylighted stream channel, and even some of the plantings that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So here you see a few different examples on the upper left, you know, in terms of the pollinator pathway and, you know, how that relates, what's done locally, but, you know, how it relates and connects to what's done on an area-wide or global or national level. You see on the upper right, you know, a very natural feel for the sun, for a type of sign that could be incorporated in terms of talking about wildlife and the materials that are used in the site itself. And the lower example is really talking much more about the ecosystem at large and how the strategies chosen in the building really work with the natural environment. Thanks. Appreciate the reminder.
So I think that's what we had in terms of the response to comments. Again, we're happy to answer additional comments that the commission may have and or the public.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt. Again, I know I appreciate, I said, you guys, the applicant here is the town of Brookfield. Well, I got that. You guys are their agents, and I got the difference, a big difference, and I got it. Let's see. So let me, for my, I said, I think, let me ask my fellow commissioners, anything you guys have that you've seen? I know we got a lot of information that showed up on our doorstep Wednesday afternoon. Anything about what you've read so far You got questions for them?
Yeah, quick question, hold for just a second, where you were, the signs. I'm
Yep.
just curious if those are just what could be done in your mind, or are things that will be incorporated in the plans and will be done by the builder, these signs?
We fully intend on implementing signage. You know, at this point, signage usually tends to be one of the latter pieces. So what we have are examples of what could be done, but it doesn't mean that they won't be done. We are intending on having these signs. The exact style and motif is still to be determined at this point, I guess I would say.
Yeah, completely understood, but I think that's one of the things I would like to, it's important to me, is that kind of educational effort be done. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask Jim and Eric, if you guys, I said this stuff came and I was on vacation for most of the last couple of days. Have you guys actually had a chance to look at the maintenance plan that we got? Do you have that?
I have not looked. I have not looked at it. I did not
Okay.
receive it.
Yeah, that I haven't seen, Sharon.
Okay. Okay, good. Can we, I said, Alice, can you maybe put that on our list of things to do and get a copy of that? Be sure that Eric and Jim get a copy of that, please.
And Steve,
Oh, and Steve, right.
the whole team should get everything.
Yep, thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Okay, all right, I want to check on that. I think, and related to the maintenance plan, I know this came up, I think, I don't remember that's when it came up, but there was some conversation said this particular property right now, you know, is maintained by the town. And there was some conversation about, you know, can anything that we are learning here about the habitat for the eastern boxwood, and particularly for the sedge. Is there anything that might be easily shared with the town, you know, that perhaps they could incorporate into their today maintenance plan? You know, to make sure that sedge is protected, and or timings for the turtles. Does anybody know of anything that we might be able to just get over to the town? I said, I don't know if they're even aware of all these pieces of information about the boxwood turtle and the sedge in particular.
And the two spotted skipper butterfly.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
I will speak to, I could speak certainly to the sedge as it relates to the ongoing activities. I believe we talked about it at the last public hearing, is that
Okay.
the activities that have actually been ongoing out there, the actual mowing, annual mowing, has probably helped that particular species stay present, because
Okay.
otherwise it would have been choked by multiflora rose and other shrubs, et cetera, and shaded out over time. What we are going to be developing for DEP with part of their natural diversity database review was a actual management plan for that species, which will be submitted to DEP for approval, and that will be forthcoming. But again, that plan would be only annual mowing, probably late fall, probably November, after the plant is flowered, is seeded, and the seeds have had a chance to disperse and drop. It would include what we've already have on the plan, which is invasive species management, keeping the multiflora rose out. But in general, it's going to include the need to have some activity maintenance to keep that population as it is today, and or allow it to expand in that area. So it's going to need some disturbance in order to do that. And so that plan is part of the requirement that we will be submitting to DEP.
Matt, currently I've told Parks and Rec not to mow for the time being.
Which is fine.
Over there.
Yep.
And
so
end of November or middle of November?
And I would say probably middle to end of November. And Jim, I mean, I think that gives it ample time for the seed to disperse out on that site. You know, after the first hard frost, certainly is another key indicator probably of times.
And box turtles finished nesting and all that by then. So.
Yeah, and in terms of the box turtle, in terms of management, under current conditions, I don't think there's anything that I would particularly say to the landscape crews to stop doing or not doing at this point. I mean, they're only mowing the wetland on the hill slope, wetland 3, I think once a year. They're only mowing the area down by wetland 6 once a year. The area south of or I should say just north of wetland 5 is mowed once a year. From my field investigations, I think that can continue unless unless you feel differently at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, the critical thing is, if they could just avoid mowing any of the tall herbaceous between, say, April 1st and October 15th, that's kind of the critical time period. They're not going to be out in the open area during all of that time, but that's really their activity period. That would be conservative time period to not mow during that period. But yeah, as long as they're mowing along the edges and not, diving into the tall herbaceous where the box turtles would be spending mostly May, June, early July, that's probably best. But mowing can definitely have a significant impact. You can easily mow over a turtle and kill it.
Easily kill one, right?
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of a balance too with parents. Those fields are used obviously for playing softball and baseball, and balls go in there. The kids hit balls in there and want to go get them. So and ticks are an issue.
Yep,
should we fence it off or put flagging around it or something?
Well, I mean, the town can certainly evaluate the potential to put some type of temporary fencing along the edges of the wetlands. That certainly could be something that the town can consider, or it could be posts with monuments that, say no mow area or,
right.
turtle area, something to that effect. That's something that the town can consider.
Alice, if you want to try and summarize some of this stuff, I said, I'm happy to, I'm happy to take a look at it and maybe add my signature if that does anything. I said, this is really tremendous information that, this project has brought to everyone's attention. I'm sure a lot of people knew, but I think a lot of people didn't. So, take advantage of that for our as-is situation would be great.
Okay.
Sharon.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah, Mark.
You asked if there was, recommendations. There already is a list of recommendations that we have, and
I'm just thinking about the as is, right? The as is.
I know, and we have that. If I could read a little bit of it.
Sure.
Species protection. Current land management practices at this site, particularly along marginal sections at the athletic field complex, should be reapprised in the light of discovery of heritage sedge. At a minimum, some protection measures for the sedge should be taken, including 1, delineating and field population boundary with highly visible and durable metal or fiberglass staking. The town could do that now. 2, establish a buffer zone, at least 3, but preferably 5 or more meters. It's more than 20 feet between the population and any actively used part of the field. You can set that up. That's pretty easy. Relaxing current mowing regime, less frequent and more selective cutting. There's lots of stuff in here. We have a guideline that we could ask the town to follow.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, we've got to get that over to
The other
them.
thing that hasn't been done is additional survey inventory work. That wants an entire growing season, which we've missed this year's growing season already. But all vascular plant groups, as much of the site is full growing season, that's kind of stuff that we should be doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because I want to get it from what we have here over to the people who can act on it in the town.
Yeah. So we have some stuff you can look at. If you need
that's what I'm saying. We'll get, Alice has got some notes. We'll try and get something together, that we as a commission can share with the town of things we've learned and ask them to, because I said part of it is in wetlands now and in upland review areas. So,
right.
Dave, are you trying to get something in, or Jim, or?
This is Jim Cowan. I have a comment, and that is it relates to mowing. And one of the things about mowing to be concerned about or be aware of is how it affects the insects that use the particular species. And for the hairy fruited sedge, if you Google Illinois wildflowers, they have they have a whole document on the hairy fruited sedge, and they list faunal associations, which are insects, and they list like 20 different species of insects that use the sedge. So I think, and one of the things, I haven't done this level of research. I mean, it's a great educational opportunity. But one of the things is some butterflies overwinter on plants and on sedges. So it would be important to know if any of the, there's several species of butterflies, some of which are rare, the two-spotted skipper and the eyed brown that use wetland sedges. Would be important to know, are they overwintering on the sedge to time your mowing? So I think getting some more information on how the different butterflies and insects use the sedge to know when to time the mowing. Typically, I recommend winter mowing, but I haven't researched those particular species to know whether or not they overwinter on the sedge or not. And one of the other things is sometimes we recommend a mowing height, that some insects need a stem, a dead stem to lay their eggs in. And so sometimes we'll leave a foot of height or so that there are some stems that the insects can use. So, but I haven't done specific research on this sedge in terms of who, and I guess this is a great question for kids and anyone. Whose home is it? Who uses that sedge for home? And and I think that's kind of a good segue for any education, and that can inform how we manage it. And
All right,
I imagine DEEP will have good input on that because they are aware of the insects that use the hairy fruited sedge, and so they will have some input in terms of when to time the mowing and so forth.
Yeah, and which is a great point back to that DEEP. We almost need their report in our, if we were to eventually approve this, we'd need that DEEP report carried into this at some point after our review.
Yeah, I think it should inform the management.
Yeah.
I mean, once that, I guess the management plan that DEEP, and I guess this is a question for Matt, I would assume that management plan would then become part of the maintenance plan for the school. That DEEP approves this. So it would get folded in terms of the maintenance. So there would be an education component to the management of the sedge.
Jim, that's correct. The management plan will be folded in as part of this project when it is developed and submitted to DEP for approval.
Yeah, we like to get those, we try to get those attached to our approval as well, so that it just gives another layer of something we can keep an eye on.
And that could certainly go in as a condition of approval, because sometimes they're, I know.
They're gonna lag behind.
Right. Yeah, DEEP has their own time frame in terms of when they can get things done.
Right.
Okay. I said I'm about to. I said for those of you in the public, I said I think we've reached a point where I said we're going to give you guys, allow the public some technical questions. I just have to tell you before we go there, this is for the applicant's agents. I am still stuck a little bit. I have to tell you about the loss of the wetlands, 4 and a little bit of 6. I just remain stuck on that. I've been on this commission for 10 years. Ish, a little bit more, and I can think of scores of applicants that have changed plans around, moved buildings, made them a little smaller, that kept them away from wetlands and that kept them away from filling in wetlands. I can think of probably on the fingers of one hand the applications where we put a couple of culverts in a couple of drainage ditches. there was a property where to get some access to the back of the building for the fire department. We did fill in some wetlands, but that application had about 3 times, a wetlands creation project. I can only think of one project in town that I can remember where there was about 150 square feet of wetlands, that man-made wetlands. I remember this conversation, that got filled in, and the applicant made an accommodation in another area for that. So I'll just tell you, I'm stuck on this because that's what this alternative that you're proposing, and none of the other alternatives that you took us through are less. They're all more of wetlands impact. I'm just stuck on this right now. I'll just tell you that. I don't need you to answer it right now. I just wanted to share my thinking. So, I don't know, before we go to the public, I'll just, any of my other commissioners, if you guys have any sort of summary comments you want to take advantage of before we go to the public portion of the hearing?
I concur with you, Sharon, on this, and I think it's almost like we're forcing our hand on things where the hand doesn't necessarily have to be forced. I'm thinking there has to be. We have some property that's maybe adjacent that the town owns. Yeah, it would all be so much simpler to just build the school on the same footprint as what we have now. I said this in the last meeting. The more I hear about this, it's just trying to fix problems that don't necessarily have to exist.
Yeah, and I know I don't want to cut you off, Dave. Sorry. Are you
No, that's okay. That's all I have to say.
You can't see your lips move, Dave, so we don't know when you're done.
Yeah. I'm looking at the drawing, and I'm looking at it saying, if you turn that building 90 degrees, I understand there's parking considerations, whatever. It all gets pulled away from the wetland. Turn it 90 degrees, shift it out towards Candlewood Lake Road a little. I'm a little stuck on that myself, Chairwoman Fox.
John, Michael?
No further comment without getting a chance to look more at the maintenance plan they came up with. And what seems to be out of our control is the location of the building on the land because of the existing building. And bothers me too, but.
Okay. All right. Well, Michael, I don't mean to cut you off. So I can see your thinking. I can see your.
That's what I was thinking too.
You're thinking. Okay, what I'd like to do now is, I said, this is a public hearing, so there are some, I think, members of the public here. We're at a point now where I said, if there's anyone in the public that has heard something tonight and has a question, you heard something, it wasn't clear to you what was being said, or something about the documentation, or even something about the process, we'd like to entertain questions now. And then when we're done with questions, then we'll move. If people want to speak in favor of the application or against the application, we'll go there now. So let me turn it over. I said, is there anyone on the phone here that has a question about something you've heard this evening? Again, I see a hand. I see Josh Flowers. Okay, Josh, you've unmuted yourself.
Yes, thank you. Just first, thank you to the commission and design team and everybody for all your thorough review. Obviously, this is a much complicated project. Just to clarify, sorry, Josh Flowers, 7 Dorset Lane. So for the record, just to clarify, and because I believe I heard it, but I was honestly doing other things as well, getting kids to bed. For Eric and Jim, you were under the impression of the wetlands that were being removed during your professional reviews. You did understand the scope of work as presented, just for clarification. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. This is Jim Cowan. That's true. I did
Okay.
understand the scope.
Okay, no, thank you very much. And I'll just caveat that with, sometimes I'm a member of the NBC, sometimes we get cross-section or cross-board questions, and that may come up. So I just wanted to clarify, but thank you very much. And great job to everybody working on the project.
All right, thank you.
Can I
All
just
right.
clarify one thing, Ms. Fox?
Sure.
Yeah, and the reason I guess I glanced over that was because it kept saying reopening of stream channel, things like that, not relocation of it. It was saying reopening of it. That's where it threw me off. So thank
Right.
you for bringing that to our attention too, John.
Yep. Okay, is there anyone else? Again, we're looking for, if people have questions about something you've heard this evening, again, we're looking for raised hands or a chat.
Unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself. Oh, I see something in more.
We have comments coming up later, Brian. We'll have a section comment in favor and a section comment against.
Okay, yep. All right, any more questions? Okay. All right, if there aren't any more questions, I'd like to open it up to anyone who would like to speak in favor of the application.
Sharon, excuse me. Someone named Brian says he has a comment but not a question, so I don't know when you want to take that.
Well, a comment. A comment. I've said, if you can help us out, we try and keep the comments, that are, in favor of the application or sort of would tend to support it, or a comment that would be maybe against it. So if your comment is sort of in the general tendency of support, let's take it right now. If not, we'll give you a chance in a second. Where's that chat?
You have to put your mouse at the bottom of the thing.
Okay, Brian, I see you've got a comment, not so much a question will be against it. Okay, so anyone else want to speak? Anyone here want to speak in favor? How do I make this go away? All right, I've done something to my participant list. All right, I don't see anyone else that wants to speak in favor, so we'll take anyone who would either has a comment, that maybe is closer to being against it, or something else. So, well, Brian, we've got you. Update your name and address, please.
Sure. Hopefully you can hear me. My name is Brian Lynch, Belden Hill Road. I just wanted to expand upon Commissioner Mulvaney's line of questioning before. We're going to see roughly a 20% increase in time for dissipation of drainage, but I don't think that's representative of I think they're showing the final design, so it doesn't show the existing building being on the property at that time. So those numbers will probably be a little bit larger. And just, from my simple math, if there's 20%, roughly 20%, right, let's say 18, whatever, more time for the water to dissipate, that would make me believe that there's 20% more water. And so that equates to probably a growth of the wetlands below the adjacent property or wherever this water goes by 20%. Granted, it won't be forever, but there's going to be an expansion of where this water goes. And then what happens to the endangered species that are currently living in that wetlands area if, for the next 2.5 hours or so, there's roughly 20% more water being dumped into that area, and my second comment is that, they documented on the drawings that, there should be some existing plans in place for landscape folks, but I'm not 100% sure that the people that are mowing and taking care of the school property now have been trained and have even know about this. And then finally, expanding on Commissioner Fox's line of questions, you've been dealt a property that, a design that you kind of have to work with. But, we also don't want to set a precedence by approving this just because we're being forced to approve it. I'm concerned about, setting precedents for the town for future applicants and then putting the town, in unnecessary legal liability. So I'm right now, as the plan stands, I'm against it as a public. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. Someone else? I'm going to try and close this. I got this Zoom chat that is sort of expanded. If I close it, I hope I don't fall off.
You
If I
can
do,
close
Mark,
that. It'll just close that.
there we go. All right, is there someone else that would like to either have a speak against the application or not in favor of the application or a comment? Anyone else? We're looking for hands. We're looking for something in the chat or a voice. All right, I don't see anything. Matt, Jeff, Eddie, anything you want to sort of add to anything you've heard in either one of the questions or any of the comments?
This is Matt Sanford. I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm good.
All right. Well,
to add. Thank you.
okay. Let me ask, I said, the commissioner, I think we're at a point now. You guys have extended it to the 10th. We've got a letter there. I think there's still time after that, right? I mean, there's 65 days available, so I don't think this would be the first use of that chunk.
Right.
All right. Well, like I said, before I entertain or ask for a motion to continue this to our next meeting, any parting comments from the commission? Or the
I
applicant?
have one thing that I mentioned previously and forgot about it. Project this size, we really ought to look at phasing it. It's a lot of, it actually is larger than I believe it's the DEP allows for a single phase project in a in or near wetlands and upland review area. So I would like you guys to seriously consider doing some phasing, whether it's 2 or 3 or however many phases we need to do this properly. So if you guys could look at that, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. Well, then how about a motion to continue the hearing to the next meeting? And again, for the public, before we go there, again, everyone is welcome. We will do the same thing. Everyone will have an opportunity to ask questions, and there will be pro and con in that meeting as well. So, all right. Someone want to make a motion to continue this?
I guess I'll continue doing them for tonight.
You're the workhorse, Mark.
What's that?
You're the workhorse tonight.
Just stealing Michael's thunder. I'll make a motion. We continue item 100, the public hearing, continue the public hearing for item 100 Candlewood Lake Road, number W20-24, to our next regular scheduled meeting, which is August the 10th, 2020.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, I thought I heard, was that John?
Actually, it was Michael, but.
Oh,
It was
Michael.
Dave,
All
but
right,
it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Michael beat you, Dave.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
And a
Beach
quick
is-
comment, Mark, my computer where I had all the information and all this stuff disappeared. It's gone, so I had to put it together quickly. So that's why I didn't have numbers to do any motions.
All right.
I printed them.
I'll do that next time.
He'll be back. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah. We will.
All right. Well, all those in favor of the motion to continue the public hearing to our next meeting, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Motion carries unanimous. Okay. So for everyone that was here simply for the public meeting or the public hearing, that part of the meeting has come to an end and we're going to go back to our agenda. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Matt, Eddie, and Jeff.
Thank you. Take care.
And Jim and Eric. Thank you guys so much. All righty. Let's see. We have 2 items where they're showing up as tabled. We got 401 Federal Road. I'm just looking at this one. It had a decision date of July 29th, but we've got a request to table to next meeting. Did you see that, Alice?
I didn't really notice that till now, no. I'll have to.
I'm reading it now. It's from Steve Sullivan. Please table 401 to our first meeting in August. Let me know if you need more extension time. Well, we do.
We do.
So he'd have, as long as he were to submit that before the 29th.
The problem is if we don't reach him in time.
Right. I agree.
So we should get a letter from him by the 29th. Isn't that,
okay, well,
isn't the letter you got an extension though?
No, it says let me know if you need more extension time.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have a written extension.
Yeah, we might
We can
need
we can certainly get one in a day.
well,
Well, again, if he's around, I'm sure he'll do it in a heartbeat, but I don't know where he is. What if we can't reach him?
Well, let me see what I can do.
Do we need to
but if
vote
you
on it?
can't, we can't let the project die, and we don't have an extension to carry it through now.
Do we need to vote on an extension if he asks?
Well, that's what we're hemming and hawing about right now.
Yeah, I realize.
You could
Yeah.
stipulate that you get a letter, and
Okay.
by then, because I'm sure Greg or Steve or somebody will be around who could write an extension.
All right, so I do believe that they will do that. I totally get it. I'm sure that they wouldn't want to deal with this. So what could we do? I have an idea, but if anybody else got an idea, I'll listen a little. Let me get someone else the idea a chance first.
I was simply going to make a motion that we approve an extension for 401 Federal Road, subject to the receipt of a letter from the applicant requesting the extension.
Well, the problem with that is we don't approve extensions.
Grant them.
Right.
Change my wording to.
No, and we don't vote on them either.
Yeah, okay.
And we don't vote on them.
So that's what I had asked before. I misunderstood your answer. I thought it was necessary to vote.
I'm interested in what you have to say, Sharon, because I'm all out of idea. Well, I have one idea, but I don't like it.
I was trying to, while Michael was talking, I was trying to maybe construct something.
Well, you want to think for another 30 seconds and I'll say my horrible idea?
Please.
Yeah, you give me your horrible idea.
Deny it without prejudice, allow them to reapply without a, added cost, and take it over as a new application in August 10th.
That's the shortest, sweetest. That's what we commonly do in circumstances like that. I was trying to see if there was a way to sort of defer, I mean, I said, you're right. We just accept them. We don't vote on them. So, I mean, I don't even know if we could push an effective date out, and I'm confident this is all because everybody's working from home, and there's a little complication.
His letter certainly asks for it for next meeting and asks that we just let him know. And I understand he wants an extension because he needs one, but legally, I don't think we can do that.
I don't think I can. I was trying to construct something, like I said, that would.
The good news is it's a modification to an existing permit. So
Yeah.
if we were to deny it without prejudice and it came through as a new modification in August 10th, we wouldn't, if we were ready to approve it or deny it, whatever, we wouldn't have to wait 2 weeks by statute on a new permit.
Yeah, I can't. I was trying to figure a way to do it, Mark, and I can't. So my suggestion would be, let's do it the way we always do it. We will, I'm trying to remember, why did they want to extend it?
They were changing the landscaping plan.
Here's what I'm thinking. I don't know if we, as I remember this thing, there wasn't anything about it that we were going to do anything about. I mean, I had done the research.
Well,
I had done the research on it. I had nothing in the earlier wetlands, the public hearing that was for that property identified, that any of those plantings as being germane or important to their.
Well, it certainly took out some plantings that were approved in the upland review areas, more than one.
It did.
Taking them out because they now, contrary to what had been approved in 2009, they now wanted to have more of an open field concept, so they didn't want to put the plants in. I'm not making a judgment now, but they were deleting approved plantings.
Yeah, they were. And what I was trying to understand is, was there anything about removing those plantings that the Wetlands Commission, who approved it at that time, wanted them to keep in? Or they, as a part of their approval, they said, we would like you to do the following things, and that's very integral to our approval.
Right.
And I didn't find anything like that. I didn't find anything else, and I looked at the minutes. We didn't find anything that said the Wetlands Commission wanted to see those plants there.
Well, if somebody gave us a planting plan with plants on it and we approved it, tactically, we'd be saying we want those plants in the upland review area.
Mhm.
We wouldn't have, if we had a full planting plan, you wouldn't have had to make mention of adding plants because it would have been planting plan. You approved the planting plan.
Well, they did, and they definitely approved the planting plan. What I'm trying to convey is they just approved it because from reading the minutes, that's what was there. They didn't have any sort of wetlands interests in those plants. There was nothing in the minutes that said, we want you to put all those plants in there for wetlands reasons.
That's great. And I'm not saying we can't change, modify, delete, whatever plants, but I mean, I want to go through it.
I just don't remember why they were trying to extend it.
No, they were modifying it.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know why I don't know what's holding them up. I don't know why.
Because they were unable to attend a couple of times. This got passed over and tabled a few times because applicants either weren't able to make the meetings, they didn't have information. The first time nobody came here, we had some plans and we didn't know what they were doing.
Right. Well, yeah, they were, right.
Then we got an explanation, kind of. We asked for some new drawings. I think they missed another meeting. Then they came back with the new drawings at our last meeting, and now he's not here. So the time ran out, not to our fault, but we just, with this Zoom new life that we all have,
yeah,
meetings weren't being made by the applicant.
Okay, well.
But it is a modification to existing. So, I'm not ready to approve it tonight for sure.
Okay, well then let's do this. Let's go with it has been a while. We haven't talked about this in over 2.5 meetings ago, or 2 meetings ago. So it was probably 9 weeks ago or 7 weeks ago, whatever. So let's do this. The simplest way is to deny it without prejudice. When they want to come back, we'll waive all the fees.
Is that a motion? Because I'll second that.
Yeah, I'll just, for the matter of 401 Federal Road, because of the decision date for January 29th, and although I have interest, the applicant has expressed interest in extensions. We do not have the extension.
Excuse me, Barry, you said January, you mean July?
I'm going to move, for a decision date of July 29th. I will move to deny the application without prejudice. That application should feel free to bring this in on their schedule without any delays, and we will waive all the fees.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimous. All right, the next one we have tabled is 731 Federal Road. We have a public hearing on that August the 10th. I think that'll be the second hearing. Minutes of other boards and commissions. Carriage home on the pond, steep application. Bloom Energy, construction of a fuel cell at 114 Federal Road.
I didn't see that letter. Doesn't mean I didn't get it. I didn't read it though.
Actually, that's in Danbury.
Oh, okay. Well, that's nice. That's good. Good. All right. Good. All right. So we'll move on to the
Alice,
minutes.
sorry. Is that all? We got it because it's within 500 feet of our border. 114.
I don't know if it's even 500 feet, actually. I'll have to look at that again. It was quite a while ago we got it.
Okay.
A lot's happened since then. Yeah, I don't know exactly where it is, to be honest with you.
Fine.
All righty.
I did not review the previous minutes.
Okay. And just a note, maybe ask, and Diane, Diane, for those of you who may not know this, Diane is going to be changing positions within the town. And so we're going to be transitioning over to, it's Christine Murphy, right?
Yes.
So Christine Murphy, whom I met very briefly.
Yes,
But in general, I don't think we really have a tabled item. We don't table things. That's not a real phase. It's either old business or it's new business or it's not on the agenda. So I am not a fan of tabled items. So 401 Federal Road will come off,
Yep.
you know, but we can, and 731 will show up. But in general, we don't table things. We continue them, and then they should stay either as old business and we'll deal with them there. But we don't have a real, there's not a phase that I'm aware of that tables things, particularly when you've got this, that doesn't change the decision timeline.
Okay, we'll move 731 to old business.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
like leaving item 7 as tabled items, but that would be for if we tabled review of a minutes or something for a project.
Right.
On our open discussion.
Yeah, or something that we might table where we don't have a time frame on it. So, okay, so on that to the minutes, July 13th, 2020. Excuse me.
I'd like to spend time going through them. I got to be honest.
Okay.
Unless
All right. Well, then,
unless a few of you feel you've gone through them quite thoroughly.
I half read them. I didn't go through them. Michael, did you get a chance to go through them, or Dave, or John?
I didn't see
I
anything.
glanced at them.
I didn't
I
see
have to
anything that was a
abstain.
problem. I didn't see anything that was a problem, but I don't have them in front of me. That's
Okay. All right. Well, then let's
I'd be
hold. Let's put
comfortable
a,
voting on it, but not making the motion.
okay. All right. Well, then let's just put a hold on July 13th minutes, and we'll get a chance to give
Let's
them
table
the.
them.
No tabling. Nobody's leaving it there. All right, that's going to get us to informal discussion. The first one, I did get that letter off to about 204A Wisconsin Road off to the fire marshal.
I saw that.
I think I got that. I did that on Friday. Diane, I think was going to try and put that in the after the fact pack.
It was there.
So I did get that. I just asked them for, as we all had talked about, some consideration of that 18-foot, considering the fact that it got the wetland and the pond. So I did get that off.
Sharon, I did get a correction from the fire marshal that he cannot give his opinion on this because it's residential. So we passed it on to water source.
Okay.
And they're the ones who would make a determination. So.
All right. So I thought okay. I did get a note from somebody and I left it in your hands to get back to them. So.
Okay.
All right. But we'll get it in the right hands and ask for some, consideration, given the circumstances.
Yeah, it's gone to them. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thanks to Diane, because she had to fix that letter up for me a little bit. She had to go find some data, which I did not have because I'm working from home. All right, riparian buffers. I am still working on that. What is the right kind of discussion and getting the right information together for us all to consider. Again, the hour is late. PFAs and the water supply. Michael, we're still keeping that on our minds,
I'm not sure what we can do other than perhaps recommend to someone who might be in charge of water testing in the community that they take that into consideration.
Okay. Other items, informal discussion. John, Dave, Mark, Michael?
Nope.
All right, and then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you, Dave.
I'll second it.
Michael seconds that. All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Oh, thank you very much for everything.
Good night.
See you in a couple